You know, the imagination can be crazy. So even if you're a believer in the paranormal, you probably have at times imagined things that you think are paranormal, and actually it turns out that they're not. And I am skeptical, given that I worked as a medium for around 25 years or so, and I'm still working as a professional intuitive consultant. I am incredibly skeptical of a lot of stuff. And, you know, I've heard people blame spirit, it's always spirit, for this or that. These nameless, faceless, non physical entities that, you know, make this happen or that happen or say the other. So, anyway, when I was writing my book, which I'm always banging on about, recently published, just a short book, Spirits, Ghosts, and Troublesome Entities, I asked if anybody had any funny stories to tell of, you know, what they thought was paranormal, and it turned out not to be. So I'm going to share just a couple, because there's how many? There's a handful of them in here, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to read the book. So let's pick a couple out. I'm just going to read them from the book, okay? So this is one that's included, and these are in her words. I was downstairs, the kids were in bed, and Martin was working nights. All of a sudden, I became aware of a voice calling my name. It was faint and distant, and I couldn't work out who it was or where it was coming from. So I figured that it must be someone from the other side. I started responding, asking them to speak up as I couldn't hear what they were saying. This continued for about half an hour until I will feel like laughing now. This continued for about half an hour until I got up from the sofa and moved to the opposite side of the room, at which point the voices became quieter. I suddenly realized that I hadn't correctly replaced the receiver the last time I used it, and the voice was that of my friend's husband yelling down the phone because they were unable to make a call. I was a little disappointed. Yeah, excuse me, clear my throat. That really made me laugh. Now let's pick another one. This, yeah, this one got a lot of laughs. And this again is in the lady's words. She says, this happened around 70 years ago, according to my grandmother. Her cousin was a gravedigger, and on this occasion, he was working in a cemetery in a small village that had only a church, a pub, and a shop. It was the middle of winter, and there had been a lot of rainfall, resulting in him being behind with his digging. It was getting dark and the light beginning to fade when he decided to take a short break before starting work on the next plot. Sitting down to smoke a cigarette, he discovered that he had only one match left and it wouldn't strike. Continuing his break, he leaned against the wall, resting his arms on top, and then noticed that a man who was leaving the pub was smoking a cigarette. Excuse me, he called out to him. Have you got a light? The man didn't reply, but stared at him strangely before running away. Later that week, my uncle heard a story about a man who had seen a ghost in the cemetery, and it had spoken to him, asking for a light. Apparently, the man was so shaken by the experience that he'd vowed to give up drinking for good, believing that he'd received a warning from a ghost. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Crazy. So there's a few more of those stories in there which are really funny. And I learned years ago how dangerous it is to encourage people in certain beliefs. And this next story isn't funny at all, actually. But it was a good few years ago, and a lady had come to me for a consultation. And you know what? I can't remember all the details, but she was convinced that there was a man who had passed, who was mithering her, and for whatever reason. And you know, I think inadvertently, I think I encouraged her. I think whatever I did or said, I think it encouraged her. I know she was very, very serious about this. And I saw her a couple of times, and there was so much, she said, going on in house, and it was all down to this energy. This energy was doing all of this to her. And so I agreed to call her to house one day and suss it out. Now, as it happens, her husband had been very seriously ill, and he was still seriously ill, but he was at home. He wasn't, you know, in hospital in bed, but he was at home. And he disagreed with a lot of what she said, and was sort of kind of trying to play it down. And they were kind of on the verge of an argument while I was there. And then she went, well, look, she said, here's the proof. She said, that picture there, it suddenly dropped off the wall the other day for no reason. And her husband said in a really exasperated, weary tone, the string on it was worn through. It'd been on it for about 30 years. It just wore through, and that's why it dropped off. But she would have none of it. And I realized then that, I don't know, maybe there was paranormal activity, but I also understood that what was probably happening was the stress of her husband's illness, that it was affecting her. And we are all psychological creatures. We are psychological and emotional creatures. And a lot of what motivates us or drives us is coming from within our unconscious mind. We're not even aware of it a lot of the time. And I feel that that's really what that was at the bottom of her anxiety and her agitation. And it also taught me as well, and I've learned this over the years because I've worked with a lot of people, that quite often where there are mental health problems and where there's depression and anxiety, ongoing mental health, not just the odd bouts, but, serious ways are ongoing, that often that there will be, there can be some kind of paranormal activity. Now, I'm maybe not wording it the right way, but what I noticed over the years is that because a lot of people came to me and said, oh, I've got this thing going on in my house, I learned to ask particular questions. And very often, not in every case, but very often it emerged that there was somebody in the house who'd had long-term depression or long-term mental health issues, and were unhappy. Now, I don't know, right? There can be different answers here. So I'm not saying that people are making it up, far from it, because it's very real to them. It could be that I feel that human emotion can be, the power of human emotion and human energy, mental and emotional energy, can be such that it can create disturbance. So it could be that. It could be that, the dark energy, low energy, has attracted a non-physical energy of a similar ilk, because I've seen that happen as well. So, it's hard, it's tough. So of course, if somebody, they really feel there's a disturbance going on in the home, then yes, as I keep saying, that they should seek proper professional help, the expert help, people who know what they're doing, but also it may be that people in that environment also need another kind of help, a human kind of help. Do you know what I mean? So it's not in every single case. In every single case, it isn't true that if there is a haunting, it's automatically, something bad going on. You've got to explore. You've got to treat it. You've got to treat it with you've got to treat it seriously, but you've got to ask the right questions. And of course, people believe lots of funny stuff. One thing that makes me laugh, and I like the things that make me laugh, but a young woman contacted me on social media a while ago, a few years ago, 5 years ago, maybe, I don't know. And anyway, so they'd had this stuff going on in the house. Now, people were always contacting me on social media about this, and it's not my forte. So, and of course, I would ask them straightforward questions, and sometimes they didn't like the straightforward questions because the dramatic version was way more interesting than, if you can narrow it down to something that's more practical, somehow or other it's less interesting. You would think it'd be a relief, but it's not. So I would say to them, look, this is my take on it, but I would advise you to, seek this kind of help or that kind of help. Anyway, so this young woman had gotten back to me and said, oh, she was having all this disturbance. And then I don't think I'd responded to her. I don't think I'd had time to respond to her. I don't think I had. So it must have only been a day or so or two or something, not much time. And she got back to me again and she went, forget it. Everything's okay now. My mum reminded me that I'd put my Buddha statue, I'd moved my Buddha statue. And I think that's what's been causing the disturbance. So I've put it back where it was and everything's okay now. And I said, oh, that's great, fantastic news. But I chuckled to myself. And now maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm really wrong. Maybe it was the fact that her little Buddha statue had been moved to another shelf or table, that all of a sudden it stirred everything up in the house. All that matters is what she believed and what she felt. That's what mattered. Yeah. And of course, it made my life easier because I didn't have to get involved then, did I? So yeah. So I don't know. It's very easy to automatically assume that everything that doesn't make immediate sense is, you know, it's a dead loved one moving our keys when basically we forgot that we moved them. I mean, the other day, my youngest daughter said that she couldn't find the tin of furniture polish anywhere. Right, so gone. She'd been cleaning up, tidying up the house and that. And then she said she'd looked under bed, she'd looked under the chairs, she'd looked everywhere, right? Couldn't find it anywhere. Now, I know for sure people who would say, that's your gran again, playing tricks on you, you know, and it may be true, but we don't have any deceased relatives, I don't think, anyway, who would do that kind of stuff. Maybe we're just a miserable bunch, but no, it doesn't make, no. But I know people would definitely say that's it. Now, I don't know where that can of polish went. More likely, she's thrown it away with some rubbish accidentally. She might have even, I don't know, picked up some stuff for the washing. It might end up in the washing machine at some point, but it's going to be somewhere in the house, isn't it? It is going to be somewhere in the house. So yeah, but as I say, it's much more fun, isn't it, to believe in the metaphysical, the paranormal version. And who knows, you know, me, Mrs. Skeptic, I might be completely wrong. Maybe that picture did drop off the wall because of some troublesome entity. Maybe it was a troublesome entity that nicked the tin of furniture polish. I don't know. Can't say for sure. Anyway, there you go. So as I always say, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hate it and hate me and think everything I'm saying is rubbish, give it a thumbs down, because, you know, I don't mind. Discussion, it's all about discussion, isn't it? And some people are going to enjoy and appreciate what you're saying, some people are going to hate it, and that's good, that's okay. And if you want to hear more videos or see more videos, then please subscribe, because I will be doing some more. Yeah, I haven't thought of what else I'm going to do just yet, but it'll come to me. The spirits will tell me. See you later. Bye.